Welcome back to the Visionary Blueprint podcast. I'm Nicole Eaton. I am 1/3 of Visionary Blueprint.
Chelsea Scaffey, another third, and we are missing our dear Casey today. She will be on next week's. She had some things to do, but we've got some exciting stuff for you guys today.
We're so excited because one of the things that when you're an entrepreneur, if you could start over, like if you had a chance to start fresh, knowing all the things that you failed at, knowing all the things that you wish you would have known ahead of time, the question becomes like, what would you do different? So this conversation is really like, if Chelsea and I had to start from scratch before making our first million, what would we do differently?
Yay. It's a loaded question.
It's such a loaded question. And it's funny because I've talked on here before about how I'm a first generational entrepreneur. Like I'm a first generation entrepreneur, which really breaks down to I don't have anybody in my sphere, especially when I was first starting almost a decade ago. I didn't have anybody who was like, hey, you should do this, or hey, here's how to file taxes, or hey, like, these are the things that are going to get you further. I really was just on some level winging it. And I think that a lot of people are. When you have a great idea, when you have a lot of passion, you do what you know how to do. And after studying like branding and marketing and sales for the last several years, it's really changed the way I do things,
Mhm.
Um,
Go ahead. I was going to ask you a question when I heard.
ask it, do it.
I was not planning on like interviewing you in this way, but I kind of just feel called to ask you, like, so you've done a few different things, a few different types of businesses, but if somebody just dropped you on a remote island, but let's say you had all the tools and technology and everything you needed, and you needed to come up with $1 million, what would be for you like the first few things you would do as a business owner?
I'm gonna do this in like no particular order. And I also would like to be in space. Can we be can
Yeah,
we
you
be
can do
in
space
space?
instead. I'm terrified of space, but you be in space.
I'm like an alien at heart. So one of the things that I've learned over the last few years is really understanding lead generation a little bit better. And without a demand, it's harder to sell a product. And you can have the most incredible product. You can have something you really love to do. You can have something that in person you're really impactful at. But translating that to get more people and understand like on a different level what people are needing to be able to fill that gap comes with understanding how to create lead generation. And so one of the things that I would start with is like a survey, a questionnaire, asking everybody I fucking know. Everybody. I would ask my friends, I would ask my family. It doesn't even have to be the people that I would necessarily serve. It's just to get an understanding of what language are they using when they are talking about things. And I would use it as like an open-ended question. So when we started Visionary Blueprint, we sent out a questionnaire. We like went on Facebook groups and we were like, hey, if you were to get support in your business, what are you looking for? What do you need? Like, what if we created a container, a space where we could talk about and actually work on your business so you're not just working in your business? And we went through and it's a long questionnaire, right? So we already secured that these people are business owners. We've already secured that these people need help. And now we know exactly what areas they need help in. And we've already secured I think we've got like 60 or 70 people who have filled out this form, even though we're not pushing the form as hard as we were when we started. But making sure that there's an actual need for the thing you're producing, even if it's a wonderful thing that you're producing or a great service that you're producing, I think that was maybe the most important part is sure, you've got a wonderful retreat, but are people actually as stuck right now as you think they are? Or are people broke right now because of the recession or whatever? Like, understanding where people are actually at by just asking them. Like when they put out the Cybertruck and have your own opinion about Cybertrucks, right? I actually think they're kind of cool. And I just like harass my kids all day. And I'm like, someday I'm just going to pick you up in one because it looks
I
like,
sat in one for the first time over the weekend.
is it cool?
They're really one of our friends we had like our neighbors come over and one of our friend is actually our realtor. He came over and he's like, "You guys want to see the new car we just got?" And he had a Cybertruck like in our driveway, and I was like, "No, you didn't." And he's like, "Do you want to sit?" And I'm like, "Yes." It was now I want one. It was like the coolest thing ever.
They just look chaotic and crazy, and I love it.
They're
Like I love
cool.
it. But when they put it out, they basically were like, would anybody be interested in this?
Mhm.
And they had everybody put down like $100 deposit towards it who
They
might
didn't
be
have it made yet.
interested. And
Mhm.
it took them what, 3, 4 years to produce it. So they had for 3, 4 years people putting down $100 at a time, basically funding the project so that when they turn around and sold them, they had their customers lined up. They created scarcity because we're saying we're only going to produce a certain amount of this. So understanding lead generation and understanding like your actual customer and what they want and if they want what you have to offer, I think is a really undervalued thing that isn't talked about enough. Like sure
Mhm.
you can pay for leads. Of course, you can always pay for leads, but organic lead generation just by asking better questions, getting a sense. And Daily Dre, she was at she's Daily Dre CLT. She is a influencer in Charlotte, and that's something she's so good at. On her story, she's always like, "Well, would you guys like to see this or this?" Or she just posted this morning, "I'm going to Europe next week. Do you guys want Europe content since I'm a Charlotte-based influencer? Like, what do you want to see?" And I think that having that relationship with your client of like, what do you want? Like, I want to produce what you
Yeah.
want. And that doesn't mean you have to like fake produce services you don't offer to meet people's needs, but it
Right.
helps you understand like, oh, people are looking for, help with their business, but they're also needing a little help with their website. Can I hire on a person who does that and like white label it,
Mhm.
right? So there's just a lot of opportunities to like understand what people are needing. The other thing that I would do is I would be really intentional. Now that I know what people want, I would be really intentional about creating a funnel system and hate funnels all you fucking want. I will die. You guys know, like this is like all I do,
This is
right?
Nicole's
I
thing.
just love leading people from one place to the next. And I'm not a pushy funnel creator, but I like everything to lead to the next thing.
Mhm.
So I always have a base funnel content, right? We're producing on Instagram, we're producing on TikTok, we're producing through the podcast. But then we've got this next level where now I've got a low ticket membership. So if you want a little bit more and maybe more personalized to you, you could jump in on the membership and it's got all these resources and it's got all these things. And now that you're in my membership, you're seeing my content even more intentionally, more regularly. So then when I go to sell a bigger course or a retreat or an event, I've got a like prime audience that is already in my like sphere, and maybe they
Mhm.
get a discount and maybe they don't, but I've already got that locked in. But everything is so intentional. I think when I first started, it was like, oh, I want to like do a class on this. And I would go and I would do a class on that and I would charge next to nothing. And I would be like, well, that was really unfulfilling because I didn't make hardly anything off of that, right? I'd make like
Mhm.
$300 for all my time and energy. And so having like a sense of where do you want to go with this, and you don't have to have your like big ticket offer already created, but having a sense based on what people need, based on, what this like low ticket offer or the content you're creating, like where do you want to push people towards? And then once they're pushed towards that direction, is there something that they also might be interested in, also might benefit? And when I'm saying all of this, like I think that sales and talking about sales and talking about the way people work can come off as really manipulative. So I want to just like address that this isn't about being manipulative. There's It's necessary that you're authentic in the work you're doing, and it's necessary that you believe that the things that you're offering will make lives better in
Mhm.
some way, shape, or form, will make lives easier, like with mortgage company, right? You make their life easier because mortgages are complicated, and knowing that you're going to walk me through it, like that is a huge saving grace. So when I'm giving this like advice or just perspective, like I'm not saying like we're manipulating everybody and we're getting them in the system and now they can't get out of it. It's how do I show them that I have something that may be beneficial to them, and how do
Mhm.
I keep inviting them to take a chance on themselves and up level their life, or take a chance on themselves and go all in with coaching with me, or all of these things that are completely optional, but it lays it out for them in a succinct way so
Mhm.
that I'm not working double the time in 97 directions. That's what I used to do when I started. I was like, okay, I do some coaching, but I also do events, but I also do this up here. And now it's like very streamlined. It's like you're going to always probably end up first at my membership. I
Mhm.
will put you towards my membership, and my book mentions my membership. So it's all interrelated. And then I can kind of take you through that system, but really make sure you're intentional. Like I'm doing another event. I think in Elmira, we're bringing back a event we used to do called Clarity Connects, I believe. I'm waiting on some venue information, but I said to Christy, I was like, this is a low ticket event. So what are we selling on the other side? Or what are we like helping people? How else are we helping people through this system and through them coming into this space? And so making sure the things that you're doing are actually worth your time. And I'm not above free content. I post free content all day, every day for the last decade, but I also need to be able to make money off of what I'm doing to feed my kids and my family and have the life I want to have, which means that I have to be intentional about the ways I'm making money. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, I kind of just want to add, like, obviously my background and day job is heavily sales oriented. So I just wanted to kind of add that I think the really cool thing about funnels and what you do is it's self-led, like as the person on the other, like the end user. That was what I was thinking of. It is self-led. So they see something they like about you, they're drawn in to click on step number one, they hear something additional that they like, they click on step two. By the time they get to the thing that they eventually end up purchasing, if they do, whether that's, the first thing that you're selling or they make it all the way to the end, they chose to be there. You weren't harping on them in their DMs. You weren't like aggressively seeking them out. You were just like, here's who I am. This is what I offer. If you're interested, come this way. And then they do. If they stop halfway through and they're like, this isn't for me, then that's fine. But I think the nice thing about funnels is for people that do get a little weary about being too salesy, like the person's there because they want to be there. I will say one thing I hate is people that do like the endless click funnels where it's them talking about how
Can't get out
awesome
of
they
it.
are. And yeah, and you're just like, get to the point. Like I've been listening to this for an hour and you've given me zero benefit so far. That I find really annoying. But Nicole does not do that. But I think for anybody looking to lead somebody through a product, because you obviously can't come at somebody that has no idea who you are and be like, hey, I sell coaching for, just throwing out a number, $10,000, you should work for, you're with me. Somebody that doesn't know you is gonna be like, what? I don't have $10,000. What are you talking about? Again, just throwing out a number. But if somebody likes a video that you shared, oh, this girl's interesting, let me click on her page. What? She's an author, she has a book. Oh, let me see about her book. That looks cool. I'm gonna buy this. Oh, she has a membership. By the time they get to the thing that you're ultimately trying to sell, is because they chose to be there and you did nothing. You created it once, you put it out in the universe, and it took care of the rest for you. So I just want to say that for anybody that's freaked out about being salesy, funnels is a really great way to lead people to your product by choice.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised, like the majority of the people who end up purchasing like bigger ticket items with me are people who have been on my Instagram page for a minute, who maybe have not even interacted with my Instagram page, haven't liked my things, haven't commented. Like it's actually really surprising and wonderful that just putting out the things that you believe in will attract the right people anyway. And I agree with you. I fucking cannot stand a funnel. Like Russell Brunson does click funnels and it's like you cannot get out of it. It's like
Call
even if
his
you
ass
don't have
out.
I will direct message this man and tell him it's
Oh
chaos
my God.
and it gives me anxiety. I'm not here to give anybody anxiety, but the thing is you can take structures and make them your own of how would I want to go through this and
Yeah.
and do it. And like I hate a free like webinar. I hate a free webinar that offers no real tangible advice. Like
Mhm.
if you go to our page and you sign up for our free 3-day business breakthrough bootcamp, you are going to get an insane amount of free information for 3 full classes.
Mhm.
And that's exactly how we want it because we want you to understand that like we want to see you win. That is the core value. And I think if you can operate how you build things on your personal core values of how you want to be treated as somebody who is interested in different services, that's really important. I've just seen so many, like, especially in the coaching industry, I've seen so many coaches who people invest. I had a friend or a client invest $30,000 in a mastermind to have this call where they pretty much just journaled. And that was like the entirety of the mastermind. She goes, "I've never been
So
so
mad.
disappointed in anything." So, like, the other piece of that, which is something that I really love to do, is like over deliver, always give more than than you plan to give, because people will remember it, and building relationships and building trust in your business is more important than anything you're doing. Like, this is your reputation.
Well, it impacts so many things down the line too. Like, what I mean, please, anybody that has seen the boot camp and thought about clicking it, I promise, like, if you never buy anything from Visionary Blueprint, that 3-day webinar was worth it in and of itself. Like, the feedback we got was like, holy, I can't believe I never thought of that. I'm going to start doing this. So there is value just in that. But I think as other business owners are thinking about, if you're in a content space where you sell content online, this obviously doesn't apply to everybody, but if you're considering doing something like this, two things. Like, number one, if those people are disappointed in what they pay for, they're never going to promote you. And this ties in hugely to lead generation, because one of your biggest source of leads is referral clients in any business. People that speak on your behalf for you, it's free. Like, why wouldn't you want that to happen? And if you deliver a disappointing product, not only are they going to not speak highly of you, they're going to speak against you. And you obviously don't want that. But number two, when you're deciding on content to give, like in a free webinar, yes, over deliver, like give people value so that they trust you and want to work with you, and not trust you like I'm about to hand you my credit card, trust you, but just trust that you know what you're talking about. Like, why would I listen to you? And then they sign up for your webinar and they're like, okay, this person actually knows what they're talking about. Now I'm going to follow them on Instagram. Now I'm going to speak highly about them. But I think it also is important to recognize, like, you don't have to, by over deliver, like, you don't have to give somebody your entire playbook for how you run your business. A lot of times, the surface level things that we don't think are valuable because we live and breathe it, somebody else might find super impactful because they haven't been exposed to it yet. So you might not think like, no one's going to watch this, no one cares about Instagram strategies, they already know this. I promise you, most people don't. You do because you do that every day. Most people don't. And a lot of people that are buying your content is because A, they're either just starting out or they want to be better. So they're looking for anything, any information. And if you deliver quality information, like not bullshit, but actual quality information, it doesn't have to be your entire bread and butter to your business. It can be very surface level stuff, but don't underestimate how valuable that is to another person.
My favorite quote that I learned early on in my business, I was listening to a podcast or something, and I'm sorry, I've got a little cold. And the guy said, "You don't have to be Jimi Hendrix to teach guitar. You just need to know three chords more than the person who knows none." And I think about that all the time. Like, whenever I'm like, or even with working with clients, because I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs, coaching for business, but also like coaching for just personal stuff. And that's like the big thing, is like, you don't need to be the genius in the room. You just have to share the knowledge that you have, and the right people will find you. The people who are at that level will find you. Now, I do business coaching, but I couldn't coach my husband's business. He has a multi-million dollar business that is, you know, $20 million. And, I'm not at that personal level. So how could I ever coach him? He's looking at systems and working with Grant Cardone. Like, that's not where I'm at. So it is about knowing your limitations, but also know that the things that you have, even at the bottom level, very valuable.
Yeah, 100%.
And the last thing I would say, and then we'll turn it over to you, is consistency. If you have nothing else to offer, show up every day, show up consistently, and do not look for proof within showing up. It is really tempting to start measuring and looking at, well, I made 20 Instagram posts and I have 10 followers. Like, what the hell? Nothing's working. You would be surprised. Like I said, some of my biggest high ticket clients are people that I met a week ago. And sometimes they're people who have been following me since the beginning and have never commented, never said anything, never DM'd me, nothing. So
Mm.
they just feel called towards my content and I didn't even know it. So just keep putting out. God, I wish I could remember who this was, but I remember this guy talking about how he started a YouTube channel and he literally had like 100 views on every video max. But one of them was fucking Oprah. Oprah was watching his stuff on YouTube and now he's on Super Soul Sunday regularly. But like he didn't have a big following. So I just want people to disconnect from this idea that social media is proof of your success because it's not. And engagement is proof of your success and it's not. Like show up as you are, bring good content, obviously, but also detach from looking for. I always say it's like planting a pumpkin seed and then going out on the ground in 2 days and just demanding it grow. Like
Mm.
let it marinate, let the sun hit it, keep pouring water onto it. Something will sprout eventually.
Yeah. I think one thing I want to add to that too, just as an example of how like your follower count does not necessarily mean that your posts are a success or not a success. And here's an example. So my husband's company, I do all the social media for that. It is not my full-time job. I do a lot of other things for that company that are very much my full-time job. This is literally just to maintain an online presence. But for example, like, okay, so it's a mortgage company. Most people are not buying mortgages because of a company they saw online. We are not intending to generate leads offline in the social media sense. We're trying to appeal to other people in the industry, like potential partners, potential people that we could hire. You know, we want to showcase that this is a company that's very fun to work for. We put up pretty big numbers compared to our competitors. And we work hard, play hard. That's kind of our thing. So our social media, if you go to it, it kind of reflects that. However, we have like 250 followers. So as somebody that runs the social media, when I have time, it might be easy to get lost in like, oh my God, like social media is not performing well. We don't, have a ton of engagement on our pages. We don't have a lot of followers. However, every single time I put up a post that we are hiring, all of a sudden the DMs explode. People are coming to us that we don't even know. Like, I saw your post. I want to, are you hiring? Are you looking for loan officers? Every single loan officer, if they're good and they're top producing, and we don't hire loan officers that aren't top producing, but if they're good, that could be an extra $500,000 in revenue for the company if they succeed. Every single one that's high, and I'm just throwing out a number that's not exact, so don't hold me to that. But something that might look like a failure on the front end is actually like a really powerful tool for recruitment. And each one of those people, even though it's not a client, that's something that's going to generate way more business for me. Like a social media, would I rather attract one client that's going to produce $4,000 for the company or attract a top talent loan officer that's going to produce $500,000 for the company? Like, which one's more valuable? And again, just throwing out numbers, but I think it's easy to get lost in like, oh, I'm not in the influencer status. That means I'm not successful. No, you never know what's going to come out of those connections.
Yeah. What would you do different if you had to like start over today? What would you do?
Uh, okay, I'm gonna give a probably a non-conventional answer. I think it's pretty obvious what I do for a living, that this would be something that I would talk about, but I'm just gonna give you, like, if somebody I didn't know asked me this question, honestly, this is exactly what I would do. Um, and this is not a plug. I would totally invest in real estate way earlier. I think let me back up. The biggest struggle that I've had with starting side businesses is I didn't have enough money to keep going. I didn't have enough money to pour in what I wanted to spend on advertising, buying supplies. I was always like living paycheck to paycheck with my side jobs and then using like scraps to keep the side business going. If I could start completely over, the second I could get qualified for a mortgage loan, I would buy a house. There's a whole, I guess, process I could take people through on that. However, real estate is like the quickest way, in my humble opinion, to generate a lot of income quickly. And this is, we coach our clients on this. Like our whole thing at Minted Capital, we don't want to just help you buy a house. Like we want to make you rich. We want to help people build wealth through real estate. That's our whole thing. Um, with home values appreciating the way they are, depending on where you live, you can very easily turn a very quick profit buying a house. And I'm talking like 200,000 to $500,000 in a couple of years just by the value. And that's not specific to every area. Check your Zillow listings and speak with your mortgage rep. But I've seen people make a lot of money just buying a house, living in it for a couple of years, selling it, pulling cash out, buying another house. So that's the first thing I would have done. The second I could qualify for a mortgage, I would have invested in real estate 15 years ago. I would have probably played that game a little for a few years and then used that money to invest heavily in the things that I was interested in. I could have spent a lot more money on marketing. I could have spent a lot more money on recruiting people and just supplies in general. The other thing I would have done is diversify. So there's some things that I would like to start doing on the side this year when it comes to residual income. Content creation is one of them, but not in the sense of like social media. I really want to get into designing products that you design them once and then they sell themselves. I feel like I'm good at that, and that's something I enjoy. I could have done it at a lot larger scale and earlier on had I had the financial freedom to do it. And then I could have dumped more time into the other things that I had going. I've never met a millionaire that didn't have at least 3 to 5 streams of revenue, and I can almost guarantee you real estate is involved in every single one. People use that as their people use it as fuel to start the other things. It's not impossible, but I will tell you it is, you're gonna have a lot more challenges trying to start a business with $100 in your pocket and nothing else. It can be done. I don't want to discourage anybody. You're just gonna have different obstacles that somebody who has 100K in the bank doesn't. So finding, and if you can find an investor, even better, because then it's not your money. Another thing we preach at Minted Capital is using other people's money. That's what the banks
Yeah.
do. That's how
Creative
rich people
financing.
get rich. Yep. Not all debt is bad debt. In fact, there's a lot of good debt. Again, that's for a whole totally different episode. But that's what I would do. I would buy a house, turn a profit off of that as quickly as I could, and then I'd buy 5 more, and then I would use that money to fuel the things that I really want to do, and I would go hard as I could on marketing.
Yeah. That's actually like how, so we kind of talked about my story a couple of episodes ago, but that like my husband and I had a baby when I was 20 years old. I was still in school. We were paying for daycare, which was outrageous because I was still in school and wasn't working, but she needed to be somewhere. And we got in a massive hole of debt. And that was one of the things that saved our ass is we bought a busted house that had fucking bats in the walls, and it was $60,000. It had no doors on the kitchen cabinets. I mean, it was busted house. And then we flipped it for, 130 or something, we made a good profit off, paid a lot of our debt off, bought another house, flipped that house, moved, made a good profit off of that, bought another house here, flipped it, and now we're in the process of flipping 9 acres of lakefront property into subdivisions. But if we didn't have that, like flipping of the houses and the real estate that we had, I don't know what we would have done. I think we would have had to do bankruptcy, to be perfectly honest, because we just weren't in a position to make money. It's just like everything happened at once. And I'm learning a lot more about creative financing and getting people to pay for your ventures. So I'm really interested in that at the moment. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right that like even for us personally, like Brandon and I both have our own successful multiple businesses, but we also do a lot of real estate and have a lot of opportunities to make money in different ways.
Yeah. just to be transparent, my husband and I own 3 properties, I think, right now. Um, all of them jumped up in value in the last few years. And I mean, for those that don't know our story, my husband co-owned a mortgage company for I think 4 years, and then a year ago, yeah, exactly a year ago, um, we decided to start our own. And if you've ever started a business, especially one like that, you go months without paying yourself. So there was a big chunk of 2024 where we were not bringing in revenue into our own household. And I'm telling you what, having those properties and being able to utilize cash within those, there's a lot of different programs you can do. Again, I can talk about that on another podcast, but I truly, truly believe like that saved our ass. Like, I don't think we would have been able to start completely from scratch if we didn't have the flexibility to be able to use real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this
It's
is
a very, very powerful tool to make money. And you only need to put 3% down as a first time home buyer on a primary residence.
well, and I found out there's like specific websites, and if I find them, I have them written down somewhere. If I find them, I'll post them in the show notes. But there's some websites that do offer like seller financed uh like opportunities to buy both businesses and properties. And a lot of those properties are like RV parks or campsites or like things that can generate income on top of it. So there's places where you can go where somebody is just retiring and trying to get rid of something. And you can go and connect with those people and make some offers that it's not you taking out a massive loan, it's you just taking over a payment and acquiring the business or acquiring the land or acquiring the real estate. So there's other opportunities. I think I wish I would have known that going into it, because I'm like, obviously if you're super broke right now and you're listening to this, like, how would I ever have the money to buy a house, especially in this economy? Like, there's so many ways if you get creative and you're willing to learn and you're willing to, like, I don't know what I'm doing with subdividing. I am learning as I go. It is overwhelming. I cry at least once a week about it because I'm like, this is too much. Why am I paying $10,000 for a drawing? Like, but at the end of the day, like, that will lead somewhere fantastic. So some things are hard and you're not going to understand them and it's out of your comfort zone. But if you take time to learn about them or talk to people who do already know, they'll walk you through it. Like, that's the thing too, is like, that's why networking is so powerful. Chelsea will be your girl. Networking is powerful
Yeah.
because you meet people who have specialties that you don't have and know and understand things that you don't know and understand. And it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. I have a really quick example I just want to share. Like, this is real stuff. And again, I'm not plugging my side business, but not side business, my husband's full-time business that keeps food on our table. The thing I do that is not Visionary Blueprint, let me rephrase. Um, this is not me plugging it. This is a very real world example. I was a loan officer for many years. I do more of the operation side for the company right now because that's what my husband needs. I don't have time to do the sales piece, but anyway, I used to in a previous life. I had a client who came to me and he owned a car detailing business. He was renting, barely getting by. And he was like, listen, I know I need to buy a house. I cannot afford my dream house. I need to buy something. Can you please help me? So we found him. I didn't find him because I'm not a real estate agent, but the real estate agent found him a house. I think it was like $100,000. As a first time home buyer, he only needed to put 3,000 down. He was able to come up with the $3,000. And I know for some people say, I don't have 3,000 in the bank, but it's a lot better than $20,000. You can buy a house for, like I said, 3% down as first time home buyer. He came up with the 3,000. We got him in the house. It was a long process doing like the income verification, everything because of his unique business situation. But anyway, we got him in the house. I went to his closing. This man was like crying. It was the most amazing day. Um, he said to me, this was always the plan. Like, Chelsea, I know this house is not my dream house. I really don't even want to live here, but if I can invest in this house, I know it's going to help me buy the next one. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like, that is my favorite kind of client. Um, he called me a year later and he was like, value went up $100,000. I'm ready to sell it. I might even keep it as an Airbnb, but pull the cash out so I can use that to buy the next house and I'm ready to upgrade. And I was like, great, let's do it. So we got him into the next house. And he told me when we closed, he's like, when this one goes up in value and I've lived here for another year or two, I'm ready to do it again. And eventually he will be in that $1 million house. And this is a man who couldn't afford $100,000 house in the beginning, or he thought he couldn't. He's gonna be in $1 million house someday because he's doing this. And guess what he's doing with all the money he's making off these properties? Reinvesting them into the business. Now he can hire people, he can expand his detailing shop, he can build up the thing he really likes, get the house of his dreams, and he's becoming rich off a $3,000 investment. There's all kinds of ways you can do this. You can get the seller to cover closing costs. There's like a bunch of different strategies. There's even programs that allow you to put zero money down or 1% down. So there's a lot of different creative ways you can get into that house. But if I could give any advice to anybody looking to build wealth, buy a house, like buy real estate, and then we can take it from there. But again, that is probably the one major thing I would do differently.
And leverage credit cards.
Yep, not all debt is bad debt.
Not all debt is bad debt. Make sure you can pay them off before you use them. But if you're just using your bank account and you have the money in the bank account, just pay off the card. Get yourself. I just booked Switzerland, Germany, and Lake Como on my credit card, like with the cash back, and I have not even touched like a quarter of the cash back. So everything that is booked for this trip to Europe for a week in all these different beautiful places, including all the hotels, the flights, everything for me and my husband and my kids, it's all paid for. It's not coming out of my pocket. I can afford to do really incredible things because I've got insane amount of cash back, because everything for me comes on the credit card. Don't get behind. If you can't get behind, or if you think you're going to get behind, I'm not promoting this, but if you feel like, no, I've got this under wraps, make extra money off of everything you're doing, and every transaction is in your favor. This is great. This was amazing. Okay, well, we're wrapping up. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Make sure to leave us a positive review, and always like reach out to us and let us know what you want us to talk about. We're going to be bringing some incredible guests in. We're going to be doing some interviews around Charlotte. And Casey and I currently have a business audit that's $97. We'll go through your landing pages, your website, your socials, and give you a 20-minute video feedback on things we know you can do different, any blind spots we feel like you have that's not converting clients as fast and as abundantly as you would like. And we also have the 3-day business breakthrough bootcamp available. That's completely free. It'll be in the show notes. So we look forward to working with you and helping you get in all the right rooms and up level your business.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.